Well, we're with the star of the show, MedtechVISION, Melissa Muganzo Murphy. She was the patient keynote speaker, and everyone was moved to the point of changing the way they see everything. And then when people walked out of your speech, they just looked like they had been to the mountaintop. So, pleasure to meet you. I'm curious, how did it go from your perspective? How did you feel?
You know, I'm in a really big space of gratitude because people were able to be vulnerable and share their real stories about how they're navigating workplaces, navigating this field, and centering patient care, starting with themselves, their own wombs, their own families, their own children. And you just saw a lot of vulnerability and tears and connection and community. And I think people feel open enough to be able to have those honest conversations about how we can put the patient first and moving MedTech forward. So I'm really, really, really proud.
You're clearly a performer. I know you've done some entertainment, yeah?
I'm an actor, yeah, and a filmmaker.
It shows. And so, what do people take away from this? In other words, what do they do tomorrow? What do they do to continue this? Because it feels so phenomenal, but what happens next week?
And that's what folks were asking in there, like, okay, what do I do when I go back to work? Well, the title of my presentation is, but what about the Black patients, right? When we're thinking about curating and innovation, thinking about advancement, thinking about the future, are we centering the health of Black wombs at the very, very core of it? Our trans rooms, our non-binary rooms, our wombs that don't have access to medical facilities, medical care, right? Are we centering them when we're talking about innovation? Because if not, we're going to continue to miss the mark. And so I think everybody here is going to go back and ask ourselves, are we centering the people that don't have access to things that we're trying to create? And if not, it's time to put them at the forefront of the conversation. So I think that's going to be a lot, taking place a lot next week.
It's an amazing gift to be able to change the way somebody sees the world. And so was this something that took time for you? Or is this something that was, well, what I mean is, it takes years to develop a certain kind of perspective, or something happens like a bolt of lightning.
Right.
And so I'm curious for you, how long did it take you to come up with this ability to deliver something that's so powerful?
You know, it's so interesting when you ask like that, because I'm like, it took forever. So the film itself took 2 years to create.
Okay.
But me, myself, I'm a fibroid survivor. I'm a patient that was also seeking care and seeking research and seeking access to technology to heal my body. And so when you get it personally, you have this fervor and this passion to not only execute the gift that you've been given, but also bring justice to the wombs that don't have experiences like myself. So that's where this passion comes from. It's 15 years of my own suffering, and then my love for entertainment, and then 2 years of making the movie brought us all to this moment right now.
And I'm having trouble responding. You have this knack. So what about this particular organization? I mean, it's obviously 99% women. I'm curious, is that normally the crowd that you discuss this with?
That's a great question. One of the things that I used to do before I was in entertainment, I was a higher education administrator. So I worked in admissions and student housing and student career counseling. And my last job in higher education was running a cultural center that specifically focused on queer and trans liberation. And so when I think about advocacy on behalf of wombs, I am very inclusive in my language. So rather than saying women, I say people with the capacity to give birth, people that have uteruses, people that are womb holders, right? Because not everybody with a womb can give birth or wants to give birth, and there are people without wombs that really want to give birth, right? So I want to give a voice to those people too, especially as a queer Black woman. It is so important to me to advocate. So that's where this comes from.
Womb holder may be one of the best things that I've ever heard.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, my niece and nephew are adopted,
Yeah.
and my family's had a ton of difficulty conceiving, and so, I get what you're saying because we lived it, and it was awful and wonderful at the same time because the results are these beautiful children, but it took a lot. So it's so wonderful that somebody is taking the time to advocate for those folks. What's next for you? Is there another movie coming? What do you do after this?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. You just can't stop. And you know what? This has given me a lot of gratitude because when we see stuff on TV, we're like, oh, it's new. But the creator made it 4 years ago, right? We're just now getting able to see it. So who would have known that 2 years ago that I'd be at this moment right now? But there are 2 other movies in the chamber set to come out in 2025. And I have a vegan food line that's going to be distributing in 2025. So I'm so excited about that, and I'm very, very honored to be able to live in this gift and share it with the world.
This organization is phenomenally fortunate to have found. Who found you?
Actually, I have a lot of love for the organizers. So Deb and Stephanie and Lynette, they found me through an organization called Parlay House. I had a tour stop there because I'm currently on tour, and myself and a couple of the cast members were at that Parlay House meeting, and who would have known that Parlay House CEO and the CEO of MedTech were really good friends, and that's how my name got referred to this today.
Ripples in a pond.
I know.
Well, I will say this. It is extraordinary to meet you.
Yes, thank you. You too.
You're very welcome. Thanks so much for everything. You changed this entire dynamic.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be here. And let me also say this too, for the folks that are out there. It's really important that I also honor this conversation to be more so than women's health, just to be global justice. Whether you have a womb, know somebody with a womb, married to somebody with a womb, have children that have wombs, you're impacted by this. And we all come from a womb ourselves. And so it's important to know that this is a global justice issue. It's not just about women's health, it's reproductive justice at its core. And so when we think about that, we definitely want to get some stuff done and bring some light to this conversation. So
that's one heck of a takeaway. All right, well, thank you for your time. Fantastic.
Welcome.
All the best.
Thank you all.